TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu travels to Washington for a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump amid heightened tensions with the Islamic Republic of Iran. President Trump asserts that any nuclear deal with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is contingent upon Riyadh joining the Abraham Accords. And the IDF steps up counter-terror measures throughout Judea and Samaria following a deadly weekend. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu departed for the United States earlier today ahead of a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House and a subsequent funeral for Senator Lindsey Graham, who was a staunch supporter of the U.S.-Israel alliance. Speaking ahead of departure during his weekly cabinet meeting in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stressed he is expected to discuss with President Trump a host of issues to include Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, among other theaters of common concern, with chief focus on the latest tensions vis-à-vis the Islamic Republic of Iran.
I will take off to Washington to meet with President Trump at his invitation, and then I will participate in the funeral of the great friend of Israel, Senator Lindsey Graham. I must say that he was one of Israel's greatest friends since its founding, and it is appropriate that we share this honor with him. I will also talk to President Trump about all the issues on the agenda, including the situation in Iran.
The Israeli Prime Minister further addressed a recent uptick in terror attacks throughout the West Bank districts of Judea and Samaria, to include a spike in lethal violence late last week that left 2 Israelis dead in a terror attack near the Arab village of Tel. The murdered Israelis include 32-year-old Benaya Melet, a father of 2 from the Israeli community of Chavad Gilad, and 27-year-old IDF Major Yuval Ezra from the central city of Herzliya. Major Ezra was laid to rest yesterday at the military cemetery in Beit Dagan.
You will forever be in our hearts. We said goodbye at Shura, and I kissed you. I will never kiss you again. I love you, my child, my pride.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu instructed Israel's defense establishment to ratchet up the war on terror throughout Judea and Samaria.
Regarding Judea and Samaria, the instructions we gave were to enter the villages, search them, seize weapons, arrest suspects. These things have been done and are being done right now. Forces also entered the hospital in Nablus, where 2 accomplices were hiding. They took them. Forces sealed the terrorist's house in preparation for its demolition. They also mapped the houses of the other accomplices in preparation for action against them, and we are also prepared to act more broadly against the nests of terror.
The IDF spokesperson's unit released a statement earlier today in which it stated, quote, as part of an extensive intelligence effort and operational activity conducted by the security forces, the forces apprehended 4 terrorists who were involved in the attack on an off-duty IDF soldier and stole his weapon in the Susia area on Saturday. Following the incident, the forces conducted searches in the area, located the stolen weapon, and apprehended 2 terrorists. Overnight on Sunday, IDF soldiers from the Special Operations Duvdevan unit operated in the area of Yatta and apprehended another terrorist involved in stealing the weapon. And earlier today, as the forces continued searches in the area, another terrorist involved in the attack turned himself in to personnel of the civil administration. All of the terrorists were transferred to the security forces for further investigation. Turning to Washington, where U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters when asked about his exit strategy from the war with the terrorist Ayatollah regime in Iran, that there are two options: either achieve a negotiated solution or double down on forcing Tehran to capitulate militarily.
About Iran, what is the exit strategy?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. There's a military exit where we just keep going just the way we are, and we can even make it a heavier dose, and it's knocking out everything they have. Or there's a smarter strategy, and that's you make a deal, and they want to make a deal. I just don't think they're ready yet, but they do want to make a deal. Sometimes they don't want to say they want to make a deal. They want to be the tough guys, but they do want to make a deal. There's two ways. I mean, it's you can just keep doing exactly what we're doing and take them apart piece by piece. We can do it in a more rapid fashion, which we might do, or we can negotiate with them, which we're also doing right now. I mean, as we speak, we're talking to them.
President Trump was further asked about his decision to render a nuclear deal between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the construction of civil nuclear reactors contingent upon Riyadh joining the Abraham Accords, that after a deal was already announced earlier last week by Energy Secretary Chris Wright.
This man over your shoulder announces a big deal after 18 months of negotiating with the Saudis. Seems like it's all done, it's signed, and then you come out, throw some new conditions on top of it, the whole thing blows up. So did he get out ahead of you, or what happened there?
No, nobody got out ahead. I mean, I just say that in order to do it, they have to be a member of the Abraham Accords, which have been very successful. But it's time now that they do it. They and others didn't want to do it because of the problem that they had with Iran. You don't have that problem anymore. You don't have a great power there anymore. You have a problem, but the problem is disappearing day by day. They were the bully of the Middle East. They were not going to be that much of a bully anymore. They'll probably, I think, instinctively want to be, but you don't have the same problem that you would have had 4 or 5 months ago, before they had no navy, no military, no anti-aircraft, no leaders. I mean, their leaders are gone. A lot of things have changed with respect to that country. So, no, we want them to, it's a two-way street, and we think it's very important for the future of the Middle East. The Abraham Accords have been incredibly successful for the countries, as you know, for the countries in them. And I think it's very important. So, you know, at some point they'll join, and they'll do their civil, that's what I call it, civil nuclear, but that's what it is. No enrichment, it's civil nuclear.
Meanwhile, United States and Ayatollah regime officials are holding indirect talks in an attempt to bridge wide-ranging gaps between both sides. President Trump is said to be giving diplomacy some room before making a decision on a possible wide-scale escalation against Iran's strategic infrastructure.
As the president said, we are locked and loaded. Even more assets are going into theater. But he's giving talk some space. He's giving it a little bit of room. We've had both Oman and Iran and a number of our other negotiators engaged at every level, from the most senior levels all the way down to the technical level, over the past few weeks, and particularly in the past few days.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghei insisted, in contrast to corroborated reports to the contrary, that the Ayatollah regime is not negotiating with the United States. Baghei continued by claiming that the only negotiations currently taking place were between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Sultanate of Oman about how to administer the Strait of Hormuz, which the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, or IRGC, insists will no longer constitute an international maritime passageway, but rather would be regarded as an integral part of Iranian territorial waters, in blatant defiance of international law.
No. Do not pay much attention to the media speculation. As I said, we currently have no negotiations with America. The negotiations that we have, and which may genuinely be subject to different interpretations, are the negotiations we have with Oman. They are focused on creating the necessary arrangements regarding the Strait of Hormuz. These are negotiations between Iran and Oman. Several rounds of negotiations were held on Friday and Saturday. They were useful negotiations on how to manage the passage of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz.
It is worth noting that while the Islamic Republic of Iran is seeking to assert its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. Central Command contributes to enforce a comprehensive naval blockade on Iranian ports that was reinstated on July the 14th. Among others, U.S. Central Command announced that it disabled a ship whose crew attempted to run the blockade on Friday, despite repeated warnings. CENTCOM further said that since the reimposition of the blockade, U.S. forces had redirected 12 commercial vessels that attempted to reach Iran and disabled 2 others that failed to comply. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, and I hope you had a blessed July. And the team and I are happy to be back in full force. With that being said, of course, I would like to remind you that TV7 Israel, through support given to it by Ristin Tuki in Finland or TFTN in the United States, is non-profit. Therefore, we are contingent upon your help. If you are blessed by our productions and you'd like to help, you can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.